Hey, Gavax here. So, once and for all, I am going to finally answer the question that we've all asked ourselves over and over. What is the best Ultimate Team mode on the market? I'm going to go through MLB, NBA, NHL, FIFA, Madden, those 5 games. Now, I understand there are other games out there with Ultimate Team modes. I think there are at least. But I want to go through those 5, compare and contrast, pros, cons, give the definitive version. Now, this is my opinion, so it is final. Nobody else can have an opinion that matters. We're going to have like some stream stuff of me going through and playing each of the games behind me as we go along, as we talk about them. But I spend the most time in Madden and MLB over the other twos, and I spend about similar time in NBA, FIFA, and then the least amount of time in NHL. I'll go over that when I get to it. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the pros and cons. Let's start off with what's behind me right now, MLB The Show. Now, I think MLB's biggest strength is that it is easy to know money spent. So a lot of guys that are along that path that really don't enjoy putting money into the game or getting money out of it, right? Because selling coins and selling that kind of stuff is also a big market of these games. So MLB The Show, it is very easy to know money spent. The level rewards are frankly overpowered. Corey Kluber is everybody's nightmare this year. The packs are some of the worst. The packs in MLB The Show are horrible. Now, there are some packs, obviously, with boosted odds. There's some that are worth it, some that are not, just like every single one. But MLB The Show, horrible packs. Now, there's also an issue is like they don't have like sets, right? They do have a couple, they do see a few of them, but there's not like great sets, the exchange sets that we see in some other games, and I'll go through those when we get there. So MLB The Show, in game, it's like you get the packs. The auction house is the best by far. The auction house on this show is number 1 with a gun, right? It's not even close. The other ones aren't even close. So it's got the best auction house. The packs aren't great. But like in game, like a lot of the stuff you earn through grinding the actual game, there's not a lot to grind out of it. Obviously the big sets, the mantle set, the trout set are there. There are some other ones you can do for some other rewards. But it is really kind of grinding and, playing Conquest, which I do think is probably, if I had to put my foot down and say the best solos and the best solo experience, Conquest might have to be it because of how fun it is to kind of play the game within a game. Now, maybe it isn't. I can think of some other examples that are kind of fun too in the other games, but Conquest is right up there, probably top 3 solo experience in these Ultimate Team games. So grinding against the computer though, like we had it back in MLB The Show 18 where you had to grind stats against the computer to kind of get there, and to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? To get your immortals, and that was kind of boring the way they had that. So grinding against the computer some ways in this game isn't great, and we've seen that in the past, but grinding against the computer like we saw with the Babe Ruth grind was great. It took 8 hours. It was a solo stream. We see those a lot more in Madden than we do in MLB. So MLB also rewarded like an end game card, right? It rewarded the Babe Ruth card, which is just phenomenal. So their rewards for time spent in the game is the best from what I've seen, and easy, no money spent, great stuff. But the problem with MLB, of course, unbalanced gameplay. That's the problem in a lot of these games are unbalanced gameplay. Unbalanced card, like I talked about the Corey Kluber, the Hal early. A lot of the cards that you got basically for free were just so much more powerful than the rest of the market, so there wasn't really a big balance on a lot of cards throughout the year, whereas there's very, very specific meta choices. Now, as we go longer into the off-season, the meta choices won't be as there, and we've seen a lot more diversification, but they have really, like, in the basically the best part of the year, the early part, that wasn't that well varied. So hopefully future they can do that going forward. So, move on to the next game. Let's pause this. I can show gameplay off here, too, behind me, so it is what it is. But let's go on to the next game, the one that I want to get to. Let's move on to NBA. Now, I think NBA is like, what I love about this is also easy to no money spent it. I guess not as easy as MLB, not even close to as easy as MLB The Show. But this right here, these ball droppings where you get from locker codes, probably the most fun like moment that you'll have in any of these Ultimate Team games. Because the gamble of drop, the thing that you're going after, these cards. Drop the ball, you son of a bitch. Why does it take me so long? All right. I did drop it. Somewhere in here I drop it. So anyways, dropping it, picking up packs, picking up cards that are like high overall. All right, there it goes. It's fun, right? Plinko. There's the reason it's the best game mode. And there's the reason there's an entire NBC show based off of this. I think it's like The Wall. I think it was Chris Harbor. So like, there's shows that are handing out like $1 million just doing this. So I love it. More of this kind of stuff. And it's pretty easy to catch up. Like when I joined the game, 6 months after it launched, I played for a couple weeks, put my locker codes in, and boom, I had a bunch of 90s. And it was like, oh, okay. The packs here, They're not terrible. They're not great, of course. It depends on what packs you pick. Just like I said, MLB, some are much worse than others. These packs right here are going to be asked for you. But, when you're starting off a team, they're a little bit better because you'll get some players. But overall, NBA packs are shaky, but some of the strongest packs that I've seen in this game. So I do like that. It's pretty solid. No money spent, I think, overall. The auction house, I do believe, is the worst out of all of the games in 2K. That's unfortunate. There is a solid amount of solos and offline grind in it, so if you want to go that way, like the 3v3, and I'm not going to include the park or anything like that because that's not really in the Ultimate Team game mode, although you got to include that in the overall game. I'm just talking Ultimate Teams during this video. I think NBA overall, a solid grind. They put out a decent amount of content. I mean, more than decent, right? Because when it was putting out content, we saw Madden suffer with it. MLB was putting out some good content this year. So, like, they've been doing good even during, like, the people making the game have been doing good even during quarantine period. We've seen them do a solid job, more of the ball dropping. So overall, the only issue, like one of the only issues I had with NBA is the game felt the most animation based, and that's kind of like, in my opinion, the least fun, right? Because like shooting the ball is the same as like pitching the ball in MLB. It's timing based. That's basically the same game, but like the gameplay felt a lot like I'm just getting up to try and trigger animations, and I gotta get badges and stats for those animations. I want speed to run around guys. So like it's similar. Like Madden's a lot of animation based. But I feel like NBA is the most animation-based, and that was, I think, frustrating, and I think the least fun of the games to play for me. Now, your opinion could differ. Your opinion's wrong, like I said at the top, but I think NBA gameplay was the least fun out of all 5 of the games. Now, I didn't play a lot online here. NBA and NHL, I played the least online. Madden, I played the most, then MLB, then FIFA, then those two at the bottom. So I will say, though, NBA gave me the cards to compete online, and I think NBA was a fine game for it. I'll come back at the end and give final thoughts and rank them. NHL, I thought it was horrific. NHL, there wasn't a no money spent really way of playing that I saw when I played it. When I got in, I was going through Twitch chat. I'm like, so what do I do now? And I was, do I grind these solos? Like, no, those solos are ass. Like, there's not that many of them either. And they don't really give you a lot of packs. It's not like MLB where there's a really easy way of grinding stuff with conquest maps and solo stuff like that. So I got in. I opened a starter packs, which I should probably play in the background. I opened my starter packs. They're giving me like 64, 67 overalls here. It's like, okay, cool. But like, how do I catch up? Grind the solos and buy packs. That's the game mode. So while it's kind of cool, there's kind of some flashy things. I was looking through some of these things. You browse auctions. You get these cards, but it's like, that's it. The auction house isn't anything spectacular. It's solid. Its filters are okay. It's nothing spectacular. It's not even close to MLB style auction house. I was looking for different penguins to buy, and they're kind of expensive. But overall, not great at all. There was just packs. You have a bunch of different left. So I think they need to add. This one was really not good. Really, really not good. That 97, I think, was a limited time. I could only use that so many times. The gameplay, though, I think the gameplay, and I didn't play a ton online. I know a lot of people have problems with, like, cheese and stuff online. I thought the gameplay of NHL was nice, was fluid, was good. I mean, but this reminds me of, like, old NHL games, right? NHL games have been this solid in gameplay for, like, 10 years, right? I didn't really notice a whole lot different here of NHLs that I've had in the past. So, and I'm not going to talk about their, like, what is it, creative player mode, as I fucked that one up. But I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm just talking about the Ultimate Team mode. So that's it, right? That's like NHL. No solo grind, no real way of catching up on no money spent, no way of like doing it outside of packs. That's the game mode. That's the Ultimate Team. It was horrendous, and it was an embarrassment for the developers, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe they only have like 2 or 3 guys on it, but it's very disappointing. So that's my thought about NHL. It was the most hollow of the game modes. Let's move on to FIFA, and I really don't have anything more to say about it. There wasn't more. Like 2K, MLB had a lot more. NHL just didn't. Let's go to FIFA. So FIFA, their packs, notoriously horrible. Their packs, probably some of the worst, if not the worst packs in the whole game. Now, their cards and the cost of the cards were outrageous, right? 6 million, 7 million for the best cards, and they kind of stay super high all year. Whereas you compare it and contrast it to other games where like the best cards come down in value. FIFA, it's more like those cards are there and they kind of stay there and they stay amazing. And so it's very hard to catch up. It's really hard to do no money spent. solid gameplay overall. Again, I didn't play a ton online. The kind of games I did play online, they had like a team that was like 15 overall points higher than me or so. I got up to like a low gold team trying to work it, no money spent. I think I bought a pack or two through, because Stream basically said, here's $20, buy one of these packs, and I got a whole bunch of gold cards, low gold cards. So I was like, all right, well, that's what I'm running with. I ran with I think a Premier League squad online. I think I beat one guy, lost to another in a friendly. But I think it's unfortunate because it's so hard to do, right? FIFA, I think, does have pretty solid gameplay. I know there's some like near post cheese and some bullshit online, and I do think online plays a little bit worse than offline. With a little bit of lag that I noticed, it definitely doesn't feel as smooth. I think offline, this game plays really nicely because one, I mean, the computer doesn't cheat you as much, or it doesn't feel as bad. I mean, obviously cheating's gonna happen. But here's me just playing, I think, against the computer here. But anyways, FIFA Ultimate Team. Very cool chemistry system, right? I think I clicked on it a little bit here, right? You link up your cards. They have strong links. They have weak links. Really cool. The problem is it does limit the amount of selections you can have for players. You basically have to buy a whole new team sometimes to get new players in the squad. So you can't really engage with all the content that they're putting out. And they don't put out as much content as a lot of the other games. So it gets a little bit more stale because they don't really build up through the year with higher overalls. They don't kind of like they'll bring out new cards, new icons, stuff like that. But like, they don't really, there's not the progression that you see in other games. So like cards don't come down in price, which is unfortunate. But some people like that. You get one card worth, 6 million, and it kind of stays high the rest of the year. The SBCs are very cool. I like that. Those are some sets that you can kind of get into. So it's kind of similar to Madden sets, or basically the exact same thing. You put stuff in, then you get some rewards from it. So the content, it is a little in my opinion, which is a downfall. But they kind of like that portion. You kind of chase for those high cards. I know packs, like Team of the Year, I heard there was a lot of people complaining about those and how rare some cards were this year. So FIFA, I think, is definitely the heaviest, like, monetized. It's the biggest of the games from, basically all numbers that we've seen. The most people play it, the most people engage in it. So it is obviously doing something right. I think soccer is just super popular. But the gameplay itself, I actually liked it. Was actually kind of similar to NHL. Was smooth, was fluid. And I like that kind of, like, fluid gameplay. It felt the least animation-based, just like NHL, of the games that I played. And I think, obviously not knowing the online cheats as much is kind of warping the opinion of it, but I thought FIFA does a good job there. So overall, the Ultimate Team, pretty solid. Could use some improvements, could use some more, better offline grinds. I know they have they have levels and seasons and stuff there, and they have solo battles and whatnot, and NHL has some of that too, but that's okay content in my opinion. So let's go on to the final one. Madden, our main game, of course, for this channel. Overall, Madden, I think it is easy to go no money spent. We saw players, Mike Mack did an entire series. I've seen people actually make money. B-Spec made $2,000 off this game. The black market there. There's a way you can pay for a lot of things just by grinding and playing this game and selling the coins. I think it's the best game out of game, right? Because it has those sets that we've talked about. It has different reroll methods that we've had through the years. Cards, I like the progression. I like MLB the Show. They got their live series that go up, but I also like how Madden kind of goes up through the year. We keep building. There's always something new to chase. Like right now on MLB the Show, the game's done, right? I got 99s. They'll compete all the way through December, and it is August. They'll keep releasing stuff, but it's basically side grades the rest of the year, which is fine. But I do prefer a little bit of a progression through the year that we're seeing in Madden. So expensive cards right now, if you look at an expensive card, you're like, oh God, I can't afford that. Just wait 2 weeks to a month, and sometimes less, sometimes more. And you're like, oh, okay, that's affordable now, right? You can grind stuff, solos. There's a fair amount of those that come out, but even so, work in the auction house. But you can work the auction house in the other games. But there's a lot of fun things to do with the gambling and the reroll. So Madden, in my opinion, with what we were able to find this last year, and a lot of that is the developer being like, hey, I hated that loophole. They shut them down, but we can still find it. At least they put in things like that. I really enjoy that. I do think they do, and their focus is not nearly as kind as MLB The Show's focus. I think MLB The Show developers are the nicest to their audience. Madden, when we get good things out of it, we're basically, the developers think we're scamming them. MLB The Show, when we get nice things out of them, they're like, here, take this generous, take these 13 diamonds that we put in the shark mat just a few years time ago. So I do like the chemistry system, the ability system of Madden better than a lot of the other games. Like I just talked about MLB, I liked it better than NBA, NHL. I like the chemistry system better than FIFA. It does have the best one of all the games. The team building is, in my opinion, the most fun. You know, it's pretty in-depth. You got to get, 50 guys on a team. You got to go your chemistries. You got to boost them up, offense, defense. So they can do a lot of things there. Powers, in my opinion, what you currently see on this Walter Payton, aren't the most fun thing to do in the world. I'm just looking through some stuff and get some gameplay. Theme teams, I love the theme team boosts. That I know a lot of people don't want in other games, but I do like the theme team. We have FIFA has it. The content dying in the offseason, I think, is the biggest issue with it. Stats not going over 100, even though they go over 100 on mobile. They should really make that work this year. So it's Madden's kind of a tough thing to nail down because like a lot of the cool things we found, especially on this channel, if you're following here with the loopholes, were like they didn't want us to have it. A lot of the cards are cool though, but sometimes, it gets a little stale year to year because it's the same legends over and over. So that's my thoughts on Madden. A pretty solid game. So if I had to rank them overall, like Madden content week to week, the problem is they put out so much like non-usable content. Like low overall cards that go in sets are great, but low overall cards that come out with like the veteran program, it's like not usable. Football Outsiders not usable. Heavyweights, there's only a couple usable, barely any. There's Team of the Week was barely usable and was kind of a bummer promo this year where it used to be a top end promo. So tough. If I were to rank the ultimate team mode starting from the bottom, the worst one is NHL. I don't know if anybody would debate me on that. I think NHL is the worst ultimate team mode straight up. If we're not including gameplay in any of this, ultimate team right there, NHL. The second worst ultimate team, I'm going to have to go with FIFA. I think FIFA does a bad job with their packs, with a lot of their solo grind to really get a top-end team because it's basically impossible to get a lot of those cards if you're no money spent. So NHL, FIFA, or low money spender even on FIFA. Even though they have good gameplay, I think they rely on it too much. The third one, I'm going to go with NBA 2K. Their ultimate team mode, you're really putting together, 5 guys and sometimes a bench. It doesn't have as much depth sometimes just due to the sport, even though the sport is very popular now and it has been for a while. I think NBA's ultimate team mode could do a little bit better job with, I guess somewhat the no money spent grind is okay, but some of the... Sorry, I got to catch my breath. A little bit of the gameplay, a little bit of the fun factor, and a little bit of... What's the word I'm looking for? Team building, maybe? I don't know. I think 2K Ultimate Team Mode, it's maybe I'm rating it too low at third, but it feels right to me. I don't know. I just didn't have like a ton of fun as much as I thought I would with the Ultimate Team Mode. But just thinking on it, it is fun. Huh. That one I'm kind of unsure about on NBA. The second best one... I was thinking about it putting MLB The Show the second best one, but it's like it kind of has to be Madden. It kind of has to be. Like I don't enjoy the progression and the card drop of MLB and their cards being overpowered. I much enjoy the Madden experience there for cards through the year. But MLB does just such a good job giving us content and fun, engaging content that might have to be number one for me. I was coming into this thinking, oh, man, I think I enjoy Madden the most. The problem is it's like prime season for MLB and Madden's giving us bad thoughts. Like Madden through the Christmas promo is god tier. I almost want to say 1A, 1B is MLB and Madden. And I think that's what I'm going to do. 1A, 1B, MLB, Madden, then NBA, then FIFA, then NHL. And that's my opinion, and that's the end of it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you disagree, you're wrong, like I always say. But let me hear your opinion anyways. See ya.